Imagine this: you're standing at a crossroads. One path is lit by the clear, unwavering light of reason, where good and evil are as solid as the ground beneath your feet. The other, a shadowy trail where morality is fluid, shifting like sand, where what's right is whatever makes you stronger. This isn't just a thought experiment. This is the heart of a war between two giants of philosophy. Socrates, the father of rational ethics, and Friedrich Nietzsche, the rebel who declared God dead and morality a lie. Who's right? For centuries, Socrates' idea of an objective moral truth, that goodness is knowable, universal, shaped Western thought. But then came Nietzsche, smashing that notion, arguing that morality is just a human invention, a tool for the weak to control the strong. This isn't just an academic debate. This is about you, how you live, what you believe, whether there's such a thing as right and wrong at all. So let's dive in. Let's pit these two titans against each other and see whose philosophy holds up, and what that means for your life. But before we can understand Nietzsche's rebellion, we have to understand what he was rebelling against. If morality had a rulebook, Socrates would be its author. To him, goodness wasn't just some vague feeling. It was as real as math, as discoverable as a scientific truth. His famous mantra, "Virtue is knowledge." In other words, if you truly understand what's good, you'll do what's good. Evil, then, is just ignorance. Think about that for a second. According to Socrates, no one chooses to be wicked. They just don't know any better. If a tyrant acts cruelly, it's not because he's evil at his core. It's because he's confused, blind to the truth of justice. That's why Socrates spent his life questioning people, exposing contradictions in their beliefs. He wasn't trying to humiliate them, he was trying to save them, to lead them toward moral clarity. But here's the catch. Socrates believed this moral truth existed independently of human opinion. Like gravity, it didn't care whether you believed in it. You couldn't vote on it, you couldn't bend it to your will, you could only discover it through relentless questioning. And that's exactly what Nietzsche hated. Because to Nietzsche, this wasn't wisdom, it was delusion. Nietzsche, the man who didn't just question morality but shattered it. Imagine him standing over Socrates' pristine moral rulebook with a hammer, grinning, before smashing it to pieces. Because to Nietzsche, Socrates' objective good wasn't just wrong, it was a lie. A lie told by the weak to chain the strong. Think about it. Who gets to decide what's good? Socrates? The majority? The church? Nietzsche called this slave morality, a system where humility, obedience, and pity are called virtues simply because they keep the powerful in check. But what if true greatness demands rebellion? What if the real moral act isn't following rules but creating your own? Nietzsche's answer was the Übermensch, the overman who doesn't submit to external morality but defines it. To him, life wasn't about discovering some pre-existing truth but imposing your will on a chaotic universe. Good and evil? Just inventions. The only real sin, being small. But here's the twist. Nietzsche wasn't advocating for mindless brutality. He wanted more from humanity, not less. The problem with Socrates' morality, he argued, was that it stunted us. It made us fear our own potential, trapping us in a cage of thou shalt not. So now we have two extremes, Socrates' unshakable moral truth versus Nietzsche's radical individualism. But which one holds up in the real world? Let's get real for a moment. If we took Socrates and Nietzsche's ideas out of the lecture hall and dropped them into everyday life, what would happen? Picture this. A corrupt politician embezzles millions, leaving thousands in poverty. Socrates would say, "He doesn't know true justice. If he did, he couldn't act this way." But is that satisfying? Does calling evil ignorance actually help the victims? Or does it let the powerful off the hook too easily? Now flip it. Nietzsche would argue the politician isn't wrong, just weak. A true Übermensch wouldn't need to steal. They'd create their own power openly, unapologetically. But here's the problem. What stops society from collapsing into chaos if everyone acts like their own god? If morality is just about strength, what protects the vulnerable? This is where both philosophies hit their limits. Socrates' morality risks being too rigid. What if the truth isn't so clear? What if two equally wise people disagree? And Nietzsche's vision is too unstable. Without any shared rules, we're left with a world where the strongest, not the best, dominates. But maybe the real question isn't who's right, but what we can learn from both. Because hidden in this clash is something deeper, a truth about us. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We need both Socrates and Nietzsche. Socrates gives us something to reach for, an ideal beyond our selfish impulses, a North Star when the world feels chaotic. We want to believe in objective good because it means life isn't just random cruelty. But Nietzsche, he's the voice in our ear when that ideal feels suffocating, when rules become chains, when morality is just another way to control. The real conflict isn't between these two philosophers. It's inside us. Ever felt torn between doing what's right and what you truly want? That's the tension. Socrates speaks to our longing for order, Nietzsche to our hunger for freedom. And the messy, beautiful truth is that we're at our best when we balance both. When we pursue truth without denying our wildness. When we create meaning without pretending it's carved in stone. So who's right? Maybe the answer isn't a winner, but a conversation. One that's been raging for millennia, and one you're now part of. Which side resonates with you more? Socrates' moral certainty or Nietzsche's defiant freedom? Or do you, like me, think the truth lies somewhere in the tension? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep this battle of ideas alive. And if this video made you question something, share it with someone who loves a good philosophical fight.